No matter what it is that you do, whether you're playing with cars, playing with wood, playing with metal, or even just doing farming, tools are required, aren't they, Martin?
Tools are required, and all over the country, Australia in our case, there's people making stuff. Now, it's not all happening in mega factories. A lot of this is happening in back sheds, garden sheds, small sheds. People just love making stuff, the feeling of achievement. You've got a thing in your hands.
Now, obviously there's a lot of tools that people need at home, whether it's screwdrivers, drills and other things, but one of the most commonly used tools that anybody needs is a hammer.
Yep.
Now, you could just go and buy a hammer, couldn't you, Martin?
Absolutely.
You could go down to the shop and what would you say?
You'd go, give me a hammer and it'd be $5.
Yeah, and they'd give you a hammer.
And it would work for like 3 goes and then it would break.
Possibly, Martin. Or you could go and make one, but that would require finding a machine shop and a blacksmith. And that is exactly what we've done. So we are down here in Picton, which is about an hour and a half south of the CBD of Sydney. And we're going to make a hammer today, Martin.
I'm going to make stuff. I love making stuff.
I like making things.
I don't care what it is. I like making fences to put plants on.
And now we'll have our own hammer to... Do you need a hammer for fencing?
Sure.
Yeah,
man.
to do stuff. Anyway,
we'll work it out.
So come with us and we'll take you into the machine shop and we'll make a hammer. So everybody, we are down here at Bunnings in Picton, which is not really Bunnings, but this is Corin. How you doing, mate?
Good as gold. Yeah.
Thank you very much for having us down.
How you
So Corin sent us an email and said, hey, I make, oh, that's nice and toasty. You make knives, you make tools, you're a blacksmith?
Yeah, sure.
Blacksmith. What do you do down here?
So blacksmith, knife maker, tool maker. I've made things for a satellite. I've made things for, the last thing was a blade for an antique pencil sharpener. And today, I hope you guys will be interested in making some hammers. So
yes, we're going to make some hammers.
Forge some hammers.
Unreal, man.
Forge some hammers with fire.
With fire, with heat, with fire.
Metal.
And metal. Yeah.
Can you give us a quick tour of your Bunnings down here?
Okay, so this is a filing machine called a die filer, and this will file all shaped holes.
That's literally a machine that's made to...
Simply file.
Yeah, okay.
What does
That's
this
the sole
machine do?
job in life. That's a fridge that keeps the beer cold.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Power hacksaw here, cuts any size metal.
Oh,
this is up to sort of 150 by 150 mil.
That one actually pneumatically hacks like this, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's mechanical, but that's cool. Swage Block, this is used for shaping metal. We'll be using that today. This is filed on the die filer. So that's, but this is a striking anvil. We've got the small power hammer. It's a 9 kilo falling weight power hammer, and this one here is the bigger one, 25 kilo. We may or may not use those today. We've got a rolling mill here, which is for flattening and elongating steel.
This anvil is, how much does this one weigh?
250 kilos.
Whoa.
Yeah, so
We'll be bench pressing that later, won't we, Martin?
No.
And we've got the fly press, which does a whole variety of jobs, and again, we will be using that one today. We've got the digitally controlled toaster oven, which we'll be using for tempering, heat treat, part of the heat treat process. We've got a Artisan Supplies Paragon kiln here. This is the Pro Series kiln. May or may not be using that today, probably use the Forge.
And this is where you'd stick knife blades in there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, okay.
Yeah. That's a hardness tester, we'll use that later on. We've got the lathe, the milling machine, disc grinder, cleaning, buffing, sanding, sharpening, various lineages. We've got 3 lineages here today. We've got the surface grinder with a belt conversion, variable speed bandsaw, cuts metal or wood, and
this is awesome. Oh, and you've got this as a little dusty space so that you can kind of got this so you can kind of close it down. Unreal.
Keeps the dust out of the machine shop.
Yes. Good job.
Ryobi
Do you
tools.
run heaps of this stuff?
Yeah, you'll see on my lawnmower and everything is all Ryobi,
Yeah,
so you'd be happy about that.
Good one.
And it's all good stuff, and they've been very supportive when I've had an issue, so I can only speak, unlike the people you bought your engine off, they've been fantastic to me. So.
The Ryobi stuff's been great. We've been using it for years, so well before they were a sponsor as well. So it's been really good.
They're not my sponsor, but it's all Ryobi gear, and except for the drill presses, which are all Australian made and antiques, really, 1960s.
So these look vintage, like the design of that, but in really good condition.
It's fully restored by me.
Yeah, okay.
So I do my own gun bluing here, so all the parts have been re-blued. This one here is a tapping machine. It's an MT1 tapping machine. This will tap 1 mil taps. It'll run a 1 mil tap.
Wow.
No trouble at all. Up to 5 mil. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We're just going to enter into the, we've got a little parts washer there and a worm farm, because why not?
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. And well, what a great space. You've managed to fit a lot into what is Picton Bunnings.
Excellent shed.
There's a fair bit
It's
here,
an
and of course
excellent
I've got
shed.
all my nuts and bolts and screws and everything all nicely ordered.
And a mezzanine with a man cave up there, I hope.
Yeah. Well, actually a train set, but we won't harp on too much.
Yeah, nice.
Everybody's got to have their vice, right? So, yeah, that's basically
Well,
it.
Thanks so much for having us down today, and thanks for sending us an email and inviting us down. I've never made a hammer. I've used a hammer, but I've never made one, so I'm pretty excited.
Yes. Yeah.
Hopefully you're going to show us what to do, right?
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
First step. Let's go.
The heads of our hammers are actually made out of second-hand trailer axles. First, we chop them to size on the hacksaw. Then after a quick clean-up on the linisher, we can mark the centre and then stick them into the forge. The forge is gas-fired and will get our metal up and over 1000 degrees Celsius. This isn't a quick one-step process. In less than a minute outside the forge, the steel billet will cool down, making it harder and harder to shape. The first part of the process is punching the middle of the hammerhead out to make room for the handle. Of course, there are machines that can make this whole process easier, but we're going as analog as we can for the full smithing experience. This is heavy and hot work, requiring hundreds of strikes with a massive sledgehammer. There is a reason the blacksmiths in all your computer games are massive units. Once we've finished smashing out the hole or the eye of the hammer with a sledgehammer, it's time to get the billets into the fly press so we can start shaping the ends, which is called fullering. You only get a few swings at this before the billet is too hard to shape and needs to go back into the forge. It's pretty awesome watching metal this thick and strong get squashed like it's made out of plasticine.
Everything happens really hot and really fast. The longer you leave stuff out of the fire, the harder it is to work, which is why we're sort of rushing around. And obviously we're going to end up with something that looks a little bit like that. We've got these dips in here that we just made in the big press. So now we're going to put it on top of these metal round bars there. So as we work it, this is called the cheek apparently, as we work it we don't sort of deform the hammer because it's still going to be red hot.
So the heads of our rounding hammers are in the forge. They're getting nice and hot, and from there they're going to be coming out and we're going to continue drifting, which is shaping the eye of the hammer. Then we're going over to fullering, which is kind of flattening out, and then cupping. Now I know that forging, drifting, fullering and cupping do sound like sex moves.
But it's all actually part of the forging process.
That's right,
which is what we're doing. We're forging and blacksmithing some stuff, and I'm learning a lot, and I'm learning it's very hard, hot work. But I'm very excited for the outcome.
It's very physical work, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
I'm excited for the outcome. And dangerous, man.
Yeah, it is. But we've got our station set up here, so we're just going to kind of keep going round and round and round. And then after that, we're going to be then tempering the steel, Martin.
It's also worth noting that the better you are at this, the quicker you can do it. Like the less times you got to reheat it.
Yes.
You got to reheat it, but if you're really good, you can do it in less. We've heated it a lot of times. That's all I'm going to say. But we are learning. It's our first hammers.
Double to triple the amount of times that other blacksmith may do. And then afterwards, obviously when the metal comes out of the forge, it looks a bit scabby. So we're going to go through a brushing technique also to kind of make it look a little bit fancy. And then when we're working on our cars, we can use this to beat the absolute crap out of things.
And yes, it's easy to go to the hardware shop and buy a hammer, but somewhere, somehow, this process had to happen.
Yes, and it is happening right now. Martin, can you hold that, Martin? I'm going to get it out of the forge right now, and we're going to get drifting again, mate. Oh, that's hot.
It turns out not all hammers are built the same, and the metals you use to make them also vary depending on how hard you want the thing to be. We asked Corin for a rundown on why that is.
Steel comes in a whole lot of different carbon contents, and we can get it to obviously harden. Now you know about hardened steel, right?
Yep.
So all your tools are hardened. So basically we're taking steel, which is a mixture of iron and carbon. We've mixed those two chemicals together, carbon and iron, and we're going to heat treat them and create a crystal lattice that's hard.
Yep. Okay.
So to do that, we bring it up to a high temperature, about 800, 830 degrees Celsius, where the steel is red, but it's not got any shadows in it in a semi-dark shop like we've got here. Right. So we're seeing a nice glow coming from the steel, but not more than that. If we cool, that's an austenitic heat, and if we cool the steel from that heat, the steel will convert in crystal structure to a crystalline structure called martensite.
If we cool it quickly?
If we cool it quickly. If we don't cool it quickly enough, it won't form this martensite. It won't snap freeze it in position.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, once we've formed martensite, the steel's going to be very hard, like glass. Like we can take it and snap it.
Oh, wow.
We might do a demo piece where we do that, so we can see just how it can be break so easily. That's why it's super important to temper the steel afterwards. Tempering is what makes that hardness tough. Takes away some of the hardness and turns it into toughness.
Oh, right.
If you have a tool that breaks, and I'm sure you've had one,
yeah, definitely.
When it broke and you look at the break and you see it's got, we look at the grain structure, the fracture pattern, we can tell how the steel was heat treated from the way that it's broken. And normally if something's broken, it's because you've either done something with it it wasn't designed to do, or it was left too hard and not tough enough.
Ah, right.
Okay.
So the purpose of all this, you go, okay, why do your tools say hardened? The idea is that you want to hit something softer with it, not break the tool.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you've got to balance up the hardness of it.
And balancing the hardness on a hammer is very important for a blacksmith. We'll actually make our hammers a lot softer than you would for an engineering hammer.
Okay. Yeah.
And the reason is, if I hit my anvil, I want my hammer face to dent. I don't want my anvil to dent. So I always want my hammer to be softer than the anvil.
Right.
It's much easier to go to a grinder, dress a hammer, than to reface an anvil.
Oh, of course.
So that's where we're at. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
There's something incredibly calming and almost otherworldly and beautiful about the dynamic way that these hammers are being made. We are far from the sanitised, air-conditioned rooms that we often inhabit, and this hot work really imparts a primal experience on all the senses. Yes, there's more time and work in creating a hammer this way, and you could drive down to your local hardware store and buy one for cheaper without the sweat. But the hammer is not just about the result, it's about the process, something that these days can feel like it's getting lost in an ever-quickening results-driven environment.
Right, so we're doing some brushing. This is like an aesthetic thing to make the outside look really nice, to get all the scale and crap off. And we're also doing another heat treatment while the forge is kind of cooling down, a little bit cooler than it was before.
We're heat cycling, Martin. We're heat cycling to normalise it, because otherwise what can happen is on the inside of that hammer head, it can just look like salt. It can look all crunchy, whereas we want it to have nice grain, like a delicious Wagyu steak.
Hopefully we'll never break it to actually see the inside of it, but we're just going to know it's done right.
Often when people think of blacksmithing, there's always this image of someone going psh and doing a quench in water.
Absolutely.
Can you kind of explain to us what's actually going on there?
Or sometimes they do it in oil and you get the flames and that looks pretty spectacular.
And some people even in milk.
I have no doubt that some people do it in milk. I hear unicorn piss is the best, but I've never tried it. One day we might find some. I've got a few of my team hunting them down.
It's not actually unicorn urine, it's a number 3, and how you get it's another story. But anyway, so what is going on here?
Yeah, right, okay, so what we're doing, we're getting the steel up to its austenising temperature and we're going to quench it in water. And when we stick boiling hot, oh, it's not boiling hot, red hot steel into water, the water boils and it forms what's called a steam jacket on the outside of the steel.
Yep. And
what I'm going to ask you guys to do as you quench these is to vigorously move it up and down, because what we're trying...
We're basically going to be making the unicorn juice.
Juice,
yes.
Right? Just like that. Just imagine that you're going to get the best and most unicorn juice possible from a single action. So we're going to go up and down, two-handed maybe,
yes,
into the bucket of water, and make sure that that steam jacket doesn't form, because it will slow the cooling down.
Oh, right. Okay, so we want to shake it
we want to get water.
As Tay-Tay said.
We want to get water contact with as much of the steel as possible.
Okay, cool.
And so some steels you can quench in water, some steels quench in oil. Some, it doesn't matter what you do, they're not going to get hard.
Yep.
And that's life. So it just depends. Some can be quenched in air.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just show you guys just how hard steel gets, right? So I take this piece of steel, which is at austenizing temp, and I'm going to do my...
What is now known as the unicorn shake.
The unicorn shake.
Yes.
Shake, I think that's... shake.
All right, we'll make sure we'll beat that.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Tim's gone.
We've got sensors. We've got sensors and beeps for that exact purpose.
Righto, good. So we do that quench like that, and then we'll just see how hard it is. Oh my God, that's steel.
Oh.
You see how hard that is?
Yes.
It is literally like glass.
Oh wow. Why would I want a hammer that's like glass though?
But you don't. That's the whole thing. So.
Why can't I break this?
So.
More beeps.
Yeah. So.
Can you break it? No, it's too small. Of course, he got the big one, made himself look like a tough guy, and then he gives us the little ones. You know the whole pencil thing where you try and like break the pencil with your thumb like Arnold Schwarzenegger?
No.
But you need a long pencil, it doesn't work.
Okay.
Come on, man.
So what we're going to do is we temper it, okay? Let's just get it hot again like I just did then.
Yes.
Okay? And then you'll see now I didn't temper it enough with this very scientific tempering method. What we'd normally do is draw a colour. So I'd sand that back to shiny and I'd heat it up and watch the oxides form. You know how when you heat steel, you get those oxides forming? For a knife, we'd be looking for a straw colour, but if we keep heating it, we go to blue. Have you seen that before? Do you want me to do a demo?
Yeah, I've seen it before.
You've seen it before? That's okay. You'll see it on YouTube, guys. There's this thing called YouTube. You can get on there and see. And then now, that steel is super hard to break.
Yeah,
right?
Okay.
And obviously, take a bit more science to it, we can exactly decide how hard that steel's going to be.
Right.
And that's what we're going to do with your hammers.
It does look like powder in there. Like
Yes. So I've just finished slopping this in the water and now it is going in the toaster oven to temper it to make it not so hard, which means it won't be as brittle and it'll sit in there for an hour or two.
Once it comes out of the toaster, the hammerhead is getting a nice juicy coating of beeswax.
Next step is to grind our hammerhead. So this is a Shopmate 48 belt grinder. It's pretty fancy actually. Looks a lot like the Linisher that we have, only way more versatile. You can go this way, you can go that way, you can change belts easy, all sorts of belts. What I'm going to do now, this is the flat face of the hammer, and that's the domed one. So the flat one, I'm just going to go straight in like that, and flatten it off, make it look pretty, and then deburr it, and then we do like a slightly different process for this side.
Next up, it's time to move on to the wooden handle.
So to get the actual head of the hammer onto the handle, I need to increase the lubricity, and I'm going to be doing that by getting some linseed oil on there like this. And once that is nicely schmooed up like that, then I'm just going to get this, put it on there, and then we're just going to let it hammer itself on. So this here is the last step. I've got a little metal wedge that is going crossways to the wooden wedge that just went in there. So I've sat that in there. It's got a little bit more lube on it, and then I'm using this. This here is called a ball peen hammer. And this ball peen is hard. So that's going to be good for getting that into there.
With the handle sanded and oiled up, our hammers are done, and we are so stoked with how they've turned out.
We made a hammer.
2 hammers.
They're excellent.
They're so cool.
And I can't wait to hit things with it. A massive thank you to Corin for having us down. It was that. It was a little bit of trailer axle.
So cool.
Thank you for having us. How did we go today? This was what we call a little bit of master apprentice. Do not hold back. We each need a score of our abilities out of 10 and be honest. We need you to be honest. First of all, Martin's overall score out of 10.
Yeah, Marty's done very well. He's an excellent blacksmith. Got great skills with his hands in more ways than one. And he's done a really good job. Maybe a few sharp corners there could have finished up, so I'm giving him a solid an 8. Oh, we'll push it 8.5 just to make him feel better.
8.5.
Yep.
Plus 0.5.
What for?
I don't know, make me feel better apparently.
Oh, I thought you meant another 0.5.
That's just to make you feel better.
All right, and how did I go, mate?
Well, that's a solid 9.
Do I lose points for that because I dented it?
Oh, we could have made that the bottom if we were smarter.
Oh,
But
so he loses 0.5, so we got the same.
Did we? Yeah, let's go with that.
8.5. Yeah,
Look,
I'm good.
it is my first hammer. I'm happy with that. Thank you so much for watching this special edition of whatever this was. How can people check out some more of your blacksmithing and your knife making skills? How can they find you?
Corin_@_Gamaco on Instagram, or just Corin Urquhart on Facebook. I make barrel knives. And that's pretty much what I'm known for. So, but I do all sorts of weird shit, and you'll see it on my Instagram.
Do you know what a barrel knife is?
Check it out.
Have a look and find out. Also, thank you to the young fella. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming in. I don't really know why he was here today, but he appeared to be helpful. So thank you very much. Dude, I reckon we should show how to fix a panel on your new car. And I don't have to kick it. I can hit it.
Awesome idea.
Awesome.
What about this?
Thanks, fellas.
What about that?
Bye.
Ow.